Hey everybody, welcome to another Founder Series. Today we have Maya from Alia. Maya, do you want to quickly introduce yourself and your company as well?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm Maya. I am from Tunisia. I moved to the US 6 years ago. I'm the founder of Alia Health, and we've introduced the first medicinal grade olive oil shots for gut and hormonal health.
Wow, interesting. So how do you come up with this idea?
Really good question, because now I have to explain to the entire world why you have to take olive oil shots or drink olive oil. So I moved to the US like 6 years ago, like I said, and ever since living here, I have struggled with the biggest like gut health issues. So specifically digestion, bloating, and it was just like not feeling well anytime I would eat. And
Mm.
after going to my family farm, actually in Tunisia, like going back to Tunisia, I was talking to my grandma and she was sharing how olive oil is actually really good for your health. Now, I know that because I grew up consuming it on a daily basis with food, but I never really heard about it as like on its own. And
Mm.
so I kind of researched online and I actually found a lot of studies showing that olive oil acts as a natural prebiotic. So if you have it every morning on an empty stomach, it actually allows you to digest food better. It coats your stomach lining. It helps you absorb like the fat soluble nutrients, and it regulates your blood sugar. So like all of these things allowed me to just like kind of find healing in the thing that was like just really uncomfortable that I was experiencing in the US. And so
That's
I
so
started to do that. Yeah, but it wasn't really as smooth as it sounds because before like even, talking to my grandma about this, I went through the regular like medical system and I have been prescribed all of these like I've been given like these pre and probiotic supplements, but I've also been prescribed like some medications, and really nothing worked. And that like happened for like 5 years, and I only found like the solution about a year ago. And I truly could not believe how, you know, olive oil, like something we know too well, like worked compared to like things that were prescribed.
so how long have you been like working on Alia? Like how long does it take you to start the business and the brand?
I went full time on this in September, so like
Okay. So
less
less
than a
than a
year
year.
ago. Yeah.
Gotcha. How's the journey? How's the journey so far?
Yeah, it's a wild journey. It's a
Yeah.
wild journey, but I love it so much because there's clearly a need for that. What we have found after, I mean, so much has happened in like less than a year. When I went full time, we launched the website and we launched the pre-orders. So we started collecting pre-orders, and the way that I went about this was like, okay, like let's test the demand. So I launched few like small batches actually just to test the demand and test how people would react to drinking olive oil.
Mhm.
And we sold out so quickly that I had to place like a bigger batch coming in. And this time it was going to take a little bit more time to come all the way from Tunisia to New York City. So I actually had to kind of keep it on pre-orders and yeah, and then the tariffs happened, so that kind of led us to some delays, but now we're back in stock, so much has happened. I'm happy to dive into whatever makes more sense, but that it's been a wild journey. It's very, very exciting. We've launched in two grocery stores in New York City, hoping to launch in the third one very soon, so that's exciting.
That's so exciting. So tell me a little bit more about how did you test the demand? I feel like that's like a very important step that a lot of founders don't do.
Yeah, that's a good question. And there's something I wish I would have done that I didn't necessarily do, which was like kind of starting to build in public. Like I said, like starting to like put things out and
Mhm.
market yourself, like build that audience even before you have the product, which I feel like is such a common like thing that people tell you to do these days, which is so important because that's kind of like the best way to test the demand. But that's not how I actually did it. The way that I did it is that I have just launched the website with pre-orders, and then I tapped into my network on LinkedIn, so I already had like pretty good amount of followers in LinkedIn to like kind of update people of like what I have been up to. And then words of mouth, and then we launched in our first grocery store at that time, so that really helped us like build brand awareness around that topic. Yeah.
Interesting. So it's you started on LinkedIn, if I'm not mistaken. That's like a channel that a lot.
Yes.
I don't think a lot of D2C founders do that. Uh,
It's funny that you say that because a lot of D2C founders do not utilize this LinkedIn, like the platform, but it's something that I have done very early on because when I was in college and then I graduated, when I was in college, I was looking for an internship. And then when I really wanted to, and it was really competitive at that time, it was during COVID and all of that. So what I actually did is that I started to post on LinkedIn and I made a really controversial, like, everyone was starting their post with like, I'm happy to announce that I'm starting this job. And I was like, I'm happy to announce that I still haven't found an internship. So it's like I learned how to go viral on LinkedIn. So I did the same thing for my first job. And then when I launched the business. So really utilized LinkedIn. But now that I see everyone doing TikTok, I'm like, okay, I'm going to give a chance to TikTok because I feel like that's also the best way to get like a quick audience with not much like followers early on.
That's so interesting. Like you have such a unique go-to-market channel. Like a lot of people like don't think about it. They just start with like paid social, paid Facebook immediately. They never thought about the organic side of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I have talked to a lot of founders in my world, and they all said that for the first year, they actually have some of them, most of them, for the first year have not invested actually in paid marketing because they needed really to build out the audience first organically. Something
Right.
else that I've heard from this really great D2C guy, Nick Sharma, who speaks about you don't want to advertise a video if you know that that video hasn't performed really well on organic channels, right? Like in organic ways. And so
Right.
it's like, why do you think that this video is going to do better if you put money behind it if it hasn't performed well, like, organically? So
Right.
that was kind of something that I kind of keep in mind. It's like, what is the content that people really want to see? There's so much education around why you should be drinking olive oil and why it's literally going to solve like 99.9% of your health issues. Like, why should you be doing that? It's such a new concept and a new consumer behavior. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. So like as a founder, like we're all juggling every single part of it, the marketing, like logistics, like there's so many operational parts of it. How do you handle like everything? What's your top of mind at this moment?
That's a good question. As a bootstrapped and solo founder, there's a lot to be doing. And I'm constantly ruthlessly prioritizing like the glass balls, which I call there's the glass balls and then we have the rubber balls. The glass balls is most of the time my customers, right? Like my customers and the product. Like, how are my customers doing? Have they gotten their orders, right? We've been in pre-orders. Have they gotten their orders? Has it arrived like in perfect like states because most of them got damaged through transit, and we've actually had to deal with so much broken orders and broken shipments. And so it's like, okay, is my product getting delivered to the customer like in one piece, and then is the customer liking the product? Is the customer loving what they're getting, right? So it's like I put so much effort, and that's always the most important thing. It's like, how are my customers doing? How do they think about the product? How do they think about us? Like, do they have a really good experience? And I have feedback forms that I collect for that.
Very interesting. So I really like what you just said. Uh, like talking to your customers, caring about your customers. Like I feel like that's such a basic thing. But when you're like up here and you're like so drenched in like nitty gritty things and you just ignored the most important part of business, which is your customers. Uh, like how do you like get connected to customers? Like a lot of D2C founders, they just never had a chance to talk to their customers other than just like returns and emails. Like what do you do in terms of like connecting with them?
Yeah, that's also very hard. I mean, customers are your early champions. They're the early adopters. Like, especially at this stage, like we're so early that like anyone who sends us an email, I am automatically replying to them. I am immediately like replying to them, and it's coming from me, right? Like no one else in the company, like just me. And the way that I get in touch is like most of the customers actually are reaching out now, like asking where are the orders, and I'm updating them on their shipment and like when it's going to get there because we're having some delays. And most of the time I just kind of put the feedback form in the emails that they get, like, right before, when you place an order, you get an email like, thank you for making an order with us. And then I actually embed a like form in that email that says, let us know what are your health goals so that we can best personalize and serve you throughout this experience, right? Like, how can we best create this experience for you and make sure that it's successful? So it's like, I actually have like many people who like go through this feedback form. This is pre-shipping, right? And then we have one that's very similar that gets sent out to them 30 days after using the product, because the product is a box that comes with 30 shots of olive oil. They actually get to they get an email after 30 days that says, okay, how was your experience? Like, is there anything that you want to report on that? And I think that it's because they know that it's like very early stage, that it's like, I'm contacting them, it's me, I share the founder story. Like, it's very much like the raw experience, like authentic experience. I think that that's why I get responses. Another example for this is like, we've gotten angry customers because they're mad that like their shipments have been delayed, and I totally agree with them. Like, it's because of the tariffs, we've been impacted with so many things, and that we can't really control. But something that really saved us in those situations with angry customers is really being able to talk to them like humans, like being so authentic and
Yeah.
being like, look, we're so sorry. I literally wrote like in an email like, this broke my heart. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, when the shipment like got delayed, I'm like, this has been like, very frustrating news for us as well. We totally understand. When we had an order that got broken, we told them like, we'll send you a full replacement box. Like, thank you for being patient. Like, and telling them the real truth behind it, right? Like, being honest. It's like, we don't have to like code things. Like, it's like, look, this is the reality of what's happening. This is what happened with the terrorists. But thank you for being with us on this journey, and thank you for believing in us. So it's like being raw and honest, like, takes you really far. Yeah.
I'm smiling. I'm smiling not because of the story. I'm smiling because this is just something like I don't. It's like so basic, but I don't really hear that very often. I think people like so like worry about ROAS, like the paid ads. Like, I spend this much money, I'm not getting this much money back. Like I feel like more people should do what you are doing. Like, just be a human, and then talk to your customers and serve your customers well. And then I think that's like the basic foundation for running a business from scratch, right? Like, that's how you
Yeah.
start a business. Like, ROAS is important, scaling is important, but it's not important if everybody's angry at you. Uh, like, if the product is not good,
Exactly.
people are not gonna buy it again, then the business is not gonna scale anymore.
Exactly.
I
I
don't,
think we've been focusing on how customers actually love the experience, and like quality versus quantity, because
right.
at this early stage, that's what matters in order
I
to be able to scale.
really like everything you just said. It's very, it's very unique, and I like how you're running your business. So, like, tell me a little bit more. Like, let's say if you were to do the whole thing again, right? Like, back to 9 months ago, like, would you do something differently?
Absolutely. Two things. And I think it's because, we're learning every day. And the first thing is, I would have started posting and sharing the journey early on. I would have shared, like, yeah, I would have built that audience online earlier than, doing it now. We're still
Right.
like less than a year into the business. So, it's not that late, but I wish I would have done it as soon as I got the idea. It's like, look, like day one into doing
Yeah.
this, come with me. I think it wasn't a thing before, and I didn't know how important it was. I did it on LinkedIn, but also when you're building a business and doing content is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And then the second, I would say, thing that I wish I would have done is, I wish I made even bold and aggressive
Mm,
decisions.
mm,
And the reason why I say that is because when we tested the demand, we launched very small batches to just like test out the demand, right? Like, and I was playing it safe. I was playing it safe because I was like, look, like, this shot of olive oil every morning has really healed my gut. It made me feel so much better living in the US, and like, I actually healed myself, and I got really excited. But and I looked at the research, and everything was pointing out that it made sense, right? But because it was so new, and because it was so like strange, I really wanted to prove that and test it out again, the demand. I was like, okay, maybe it's just a me experience, right? Maybe it won't work for everybody.
Mm.
And then because we launched only small batches, when I actually made the order for a bigger batch, it took longer to get here because it has to come through boats and it's, with the tariffs, everything got impacted again. But I wish I would have made a bolder, like,
Uh,
order of the shipment early on and be like, you know what, like, let's be aggressive. I think it's easier to try to be pressured to sell product that's sitting in the warehouse than like having no product and like waiting for the product to arrive. That's like I'd rather have the challenge of like, okay, now you have X amount of inventory, you have to go and sell it as a marketer
yeah.
versus like, okay, well, just play it safe now and then you're going to wait for the bigger shipment to arrive
Yeah.
to the US.
I hear you. I hear you. I love it. I love it. What's your vision for the brand in the next, let's say, a year or 5 years?
We're on a mission to really shift the entire health culture. I think that there is a misunderstanding that health now has to be really complicated and you have to go out of your way to get all of these, red light therapy, peptides, and all of these things that are really great when you're trying to optimize for your health and you've already done the foundation.
Mm.
Now, what the foundation is, in my opinion, is the basic three things: nutrition, sleep, and then
Mm.
movement.
Mm.
These are so basic, but we're overlooking when we talk about longevity and peptides and all of these things, we're talking about like a very small percentage of the population.
Right.
But when I talk about those three things, those three pillars of health, we're talking about like most Americans who are today still struggling with basic, diseases, cardiovascular health, you know? And so I think that the vision here is really to make like food as medicine solutions more mainstream and accessible to people. I want Alia to be the first line of defense brand people actually trust, for healing themselves and taking back control over their health. So that's kind of the vision that I have.
Well, I love it. Thank you very much for your time. This is awesome.